We're about to head down to Lomita, California to meet up with my buddy Jack, who I've known for a while, and I think the best way to describe him is his world revolves around bicycles. Buying, selling, collecting, and he's very knowledgeable about bikes. Now, supposedly one of the things that he has in his collection is a screen-used bike from the Karate Kid. So he called me up and he said, look, I've got this bike, I've had it in storage for a really long time, and I'm about to pull it out of storage and put it together. And I said, okay, let me come down and check this thing out. Now, I have to give a disclaimer here. Obviously, I'm just going by what I was told. I have no real proof that this bike was used in the Karate Kid. I can just go by what Jack tells me and what I see, and whatever research I'm able to do. Really, it would be hard for anybody to prove such a thing. But like I said, I've known Jack for a while. He's always been a trustworthy and honest guy and very knowledgeable about bikes and about what he has. So if Jack says that he believes this bike was used in the Karate Kid, there's a pretty good chance that it was. But I think either way, we're gonna see a really cool bike today. So let's go see what we can find. All right, so I think he's in the garage here. This is where he works on his bikes.
Hey man, how's it going?
What's up, Jack?
How you, Kurt?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Okay.
Cool. So you got something for us today. Let's talk about what we got. We know it's one of the Karate Kid bikes, but I'm gonna let you tell us the whole story after we
unbox it?
Yeah, after we pull it out.
So this is the first time, by the way, I just tore the tape open. This hasn't been out of this box. In fact, we're gonna look at the newspaper clippings. This was boxed up on Monday, April 1st. What year was this? Because it's April 3rd today, but see if there's a year on these newspapers. So MMX3, so 2013. So this is being unboxed for the first time in 10 years.
Okay.
So
almost exactly to the date.
To the day that it got boxed, which is pretty cool. Lightning bolt seat, you might remember from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The blue
there they are.
Front wheel.
The blue wheels, the red seat. There it is. Oh, wow.
I think the real giveaway is what I'm about to show you right now is the pad set. It says Mongoose on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you guys can see enough. I don't have to totally unbox everything. Here's the seat. I'm going to undo the seat. You guys can get a better look at the seat. The seat's really the giveaway.
Awesome. Now, I know people are probably, they're like, well, the bike's in pieces. No, the plan is we're going to put this together, right?
Yeah, we're going to clean it all up and put it together.
Okay.
Get it running so you guys can see clean the chrome and everything. I mean, some people might argue that it should stay the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about that myself.
Well, we can discuss that, yeah.
Okay, so tell us about this bike.
If I stand up, is that okay?
No, please. You
Okay,
can
thanks.
do whatever you like.
So, my family owns a bicycle store. I've actually been in the bicycle business since 1997. And we've done a lot of stuff at the studios over the years. And I know I'm not a BMX collector. I'm not a BMX person. I know more about old Schwinn's. I just know what this bike basically is in the story that I was told, and I'm going to convey it to you guys. So what happened was I worked at a bicycle store that was down the street from Sony Studios. From what I understand, Sony is Columbia, or Columbia is Sony, or they used to be associated somehow. I'm not exactly sure, but this bike store was on Motor in Venice in Los Angeles. And there was a guy we used to work with that would bring us a lot of studio bikes. So what happened was, after I left that bike store, I went on to have my own bike store, and he reached out to me, remembered me, and was like, hey, I got a whole bunch of bikes here that got retired from Sony. Do you want to come and buy them? And he lived in Culver City, that's where the studio is. And I said, sure. So I got there, and all the bikes were thrown in a pile, leaning up against each other. And most of them, and he didn't know anything about bicycles. He was just a guy that would, get this stuff and basically make sure that it ran for them, or get bikes that were retired. He goes, there's all these bikes here, I want to sell them to you, or you can do with whatever you want with them. Most of them were like Schwinn Beach Cruisers and Worksman, that's another brand. What they do is they use those to run around the lots of the studio, and occasionally be bikes like from commercials, where they'll get them, and like the logos will be blacked out, things like that. Right. This bike was in the pile. And I said to him, I go, what's up with that bike? He goes, this was in a movie back in the 80s. And I said, what movie was it? He goes, I don't know. And I didn't know at the time. I just knew it was something special. And this was, I guess now all this vintage BMX stuff has gone insane, the prices. And I had a lot of bikes that my family had taken as trade-ins over the years. I've subsequently sold because they went for so much money. And just based on what this was at the time, it wasn't completely super valuable, but it was still like worth something. What happened was, so I got this bike, and more or less, we figured out that from talking to him, the research I did, people telling me who had seen the bike, this is the bike that was used in the Karate Kid, or at least one of them. So the story that I had kind of found out more or less was that there was a couple of these bikes used in the movie when Columbia had them for various things. One was a beauty bike that was parked at the top of the stairs when Mr. Miyagi fixes it. One's the one where he goes, I hate this bike, I hate this bike. He throws it in the dumpster. They're all different. They're all a little different. A few things that I know of that people have pointed out that are different on it are like the grips are different than the bike that are in the movie.
Right, I was gonna say, because they're white.
They're white in the movie and they're blue.
When we talked about this, you said that like that's the first thing everybody points out, that the grips aren't.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But what people forget is, I mean, it's really easy to change grips. And if we look, these are original Mongoose grips.
Right.
And this is what the bike came with.
Right.
If you bought this bike brand new from the store, it came with these grips. So it would make perfect sense that they might have swapped it out to the white grips just for the movie, and then put the original grips back on.
Correct.
Those appear to be in a lot better condition than the rest of the bike. So I mean, it wouldn't be that far-fetched to think that those were changed.
Correct.
I mean, because if we look at the pads,
correct,
and then we look at those.
I showed the bike to a guy, and he did all the bikes for Stranger Things, and he does bikes for the studios to this day, and he authenticated it, and he said, just based on what he said, he goes, 150%, I am 150% positive this is at least one of the bikes from the Karate Kid. And the thing about this stuff is there really is no way to know 100% if anything is correct.
I mean, you kind of just have to go by the way it looks and where it comes from.
Right.
And maybe somebody's story.
Right.
So, yeah, without like a certificate, which I doubt any of them have.
Right.
So.
And here's the other thing too, is I mean, who knows how the prop department goes about disposing things. I just read a story about I guess they found the mercury that was used in Greece that the guy Craterface drove.
Oh, wow.
And there's a whole thing about that on the internet, and it went to auction, and the way they found it was someone died, and it was sitting in Huntington Beach on a lift in the back of someone's shop.
Yeah.
And the story was with that, the way that that guy had supposedly taken possession of it was that they'd gone to Universal, there was a bunch of cars in the back, and the city said, whoever it was, the city, the county, was like, you got to clean all this up, the insurance company, and they got a mobile car crusher and started crushing cars, and someone snuck that car off the lot.
Oh my God.
So, and saved it, and it was in bad condition, and that is maybe how this thing came into that guy's possession. I don't know.
Well, and another thing that people have to remember with stuff like that is at the time, when they made Karate Kid, they didn't know that Karate Kid was going to become some iconic movie, so they don't care. They're just people that work at the studio. They're like, we're done with the bike. Throw it in the junk pile now.
I mean, hopefully, unless there's someone out there that sees this video and can step up that worked on the film and knows, hey, I'm the guy that was the prop master. I'm the guy that had the bikes put together. Because, for instance, the bikes for E.T., they're all Kiwaharas, and they were built right here in Lomita for the movie E.T., and they were done by a friend of mine named Steve Blackie, who had a shop up here called the Bicycle Source. He used to work at it on Western. So there's still, to this day, when the movie was done, all the bikes came back here to Lomita, which is where we are. So the E.T. bikes are running around Lomita still, to this day.
Okay, so this is great and all, but people obviously want to see the bike put together so they can really see what it is. So that's what we're going to do now, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Daniel pulls up and he parks his bike right here. That's where the bike racks would have been. And then he walks away, stops and sees Johnny and the rest of the Cobra Kai right here. And then walks through these gates before the camera focuses on this sign. And of course, you know, we had to bring it back to Reseda, to the South Seas apartment building where Daniel lived, reuniting the bike with Daniel's apartment. And it was actually right here where Lucille's station wagon was parked, and Daniel's taking the bike off of the top of the car when he first arrives to Reseda. And then he goes through, well, not this gate because they changed it for the movie, but goes through the front gate and up to apartment number 20.
So you gotta be the new people in apartment 20, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right here, this is where Daniel was standing, about to walk up the steps to his apartment, number 20. And he's talking to the lady standing right there with this bike, or one of the bikes. How cool is this? This is the real spot where the bike was at the apartment building. There it is, one of the Karate Kid bikes reunited with Daniel's apartment. How awesome. And then we know what happened on the side of the building, right? Right there, that would have been Mr. Miyagi's workshop. Right over here would have been the dumpsters. And this is where Daniel has his crying fit.
This bike. I hate this freaking bike. This stupid bike.
I hate this bike, I hate this bike. Oh, Daniel, it'll be okay. So there it is, the Karate Kid bike. And what do I think now that I've seen it in person, now that I've ridden it? Well, I can tell you, after this bike was put together, I studied it, I took pictures of it, I went home, I watched the movie, I studied the bike in the movie, and every single thing on this bike matches up with the bike in the movie, with the exception of the hand grips. But like we already said, the hand grips can be changed in a matter of minutes. They do stuff like that for movies all the time. Who knows why, but for some reason the director might have said, you know what? I want white hand grips on the bike, so they swap them out, and then when the movie's over, they put the original grips back on. Now these are the Mongoose grips. These are the original grips that would come on the bike. But so other than the hand grips, everything else matches up, from the blue hub to the blue seat clamp, the pads, everything. The seat, and let me say, based on what I've seen, what I've read, and the photos that I've seen, this is not the original seat that came on this bike. However, this is the seat that you see on the bike in the movie. All the photos that I've seen of this bike, it comes with a blue seat. So that's another thing that would point to this being one of the bikes from the movie. That mixed with the fact that it came from Sony. Again, I'm just going by what Jack tells me, but again, I've always known Jack to be honest, to be a trustworthy guy. So if he says this bike came from Sony, I believe it came from Sony. So that mixed with everything else that we see on the bike, I personally believe that this is at least one of the bikes that was used in the Karate Kid. But you know what, either way, it's a really cool bike. I was really happy to see it pulled out and put back together and brought back to life and getting to ride it. So thank you to Jack for inviting me down and letting me be part of that journey. And that's gonna do it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.